hits we play, the more hits we get. URLradio.net. Stacey Sturm and
Mike Peluso.
It's Mike Peluso's outdoor show, and we are getting to know Peluso now. So, Mike, tell people a little bit about you.
Boy, where do I start?
I know, right?
Yeah,
should I pull up the bio I put in the magazine? You can just
boy.
read from it, like verbatim.
You know, it's kind of an interesting story. My parents ended up in Bismarck, North Dakota in 1975.
Yeah.
They drove to town with $86 and change in a mason jar. Dad did not have a job at that time. He was asked to come out here and possibly coach hockey because they had just built Schaumburg Ice Arena that fall, actually. And so he drove out here with my mom and myself, and I was literally a few months old at that time. Left the University of Denver. That's where he had graduated from playing. And they came out here with literally nothing and pulled into town. Dad actually walked onto a construction site, Bank of North Dakota, which it's not here anymore, but asked for a job, got a job. It was basically there for about a month, and the guy that was supposed to run the arenas in town, or at that time just Schaumburg, left. And they were basically, Jim, would you like to run the hockey arena? And he basically took the job, and we've been here ever since. So it's kind of a cool story. But for me, I was born into the hockey realm, obviously, with my dad moving here to basically run the arena and coach the program and work through it. And my mom's from Roseville, Minnesota, which is another kind of hockey hotbed, so to speak. But there was some times at that time where my mom was like, "You're never going to be playing hockey, especially out of here." But we kind of for whatever reason, just being able to grow up on the ice, which I did, I honed my skills and got pretty good, I guess, and played college hockey at Minnesota Duluth and bounced around the NHL and the American Hockey League, and then retired in 2004. Two different reasons. The NHL locked out that year, and also I had some injuries. So came back to good old Bismarck, North Dakota. Didn't know what I was going to do. Was contemplating going back to play hockey. I took an assistant job with the Bobcats and spent basically 4 years with them. And I was going to really get out of the game. I was going to step back and just kind of recharge my batteries in hockey. And lo and behold, the Bismarck High job had opened up, and
your alma mater.
Yeah, and I didn't put in for it right away. I didn't even think about it, to be quite honest with you. And my former coach when I was there, Ken Erickson, who was the principal at Bismarck High at the time, and Jim Hausler, both were begging me to take the job. And I looked at it and I was like, high school is only about 4 months long. I think that would be probably just about right, for me right now.
Yeah, that's not a crazy season.
It's not, and I took it, and I've been there 9 years now.
Because Bobcat season, what is that? That's like September to March?
It's a little longer. It'll go, they'll come into town about August, and they don't leave until right now. So it's a long year and season. A lot of bus rides. And
that's a long travel.
It wore on me, and then I was recruiting as well. So I was constantly on the road, which I wouldn't probably mind as much now. But, when I was just coming off of playing, it was pretty tough at that time.
And if your kids are young, too, that kind of sucks.
It's tough. You want to be around for them and as much as you can. And the high school season does allow me to do that. And again, it's been a great run. I've been there this will be my 9th season coming up, and it's been remarkable. It's been fun. We won our first state title in 2014. We've been runners up 4 other times. So hopefully we can maybe put one more of those banners on the wall before I would decide to ride off in the sunset. So we'll
you act like you're old. You're like 41, Peluso.
I know, but it's it's one of those things. So we'll see what happens. I'll probably be there till I'm 70. Who knows?
Oh my God! So when you went to play professional hockey, was that like surreal? Was it just like crazy?
There was some times that were extremely surreal. I tell the story all the time. I was in the starting lineup in Detroit, and it was at the Joe Louis Arena, which everybody knows about. And I get out there and I'm looking across from me, and I realize that Brendan Shanahan, Brett Hall, Steve Yzerman, Larry Onoff, and Lidstrom, and Dominic Hasek, and they're all Hall of Famers. And I'm like, what am I doing on the ice with these guys right now? So I did actually have that moment where I kind of jabbed my elbow into my side on the opening faceoff just to make sure I was not dreaming.
Right?
Yes.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty awesome.
Because, every kid dreams of playing a professional sport when they get older, whatever it is they're into, hockey, baseball, football, whatever it might be. But
yeah, and then also
it's pretty rare to be able to do that.
If you get lucky enough, yes, and there's so many things that happen along the way that you can't control, and things could go differently and timing and just all kinds of things. So I always said if I could wear the jersey just one time, I'd have been fine with that, especially an NHL jersey. And, I was able to do it, a few more times than that, which was nice. And, I had a really good career, really, when I look back at it. I mean, I spent 4 or 5 years in the American Hockey League, and I was an all-star in that league for 3 or 4 years, and, got my chance in the NHL to play. And unfortunately, some injuries and in the lockout, hit me at some pretty rough times, and you can't control that. I mean, that's just something that's out of your control, and it is what it is, and I get asked all the time why I went to Minnesota Duluth and not North Dakota, and I had an opportunity to go to North Dakota as well, and it just was the right fit for me to go to Duluth at that time. I had, I felt really comfortable with the coaching staff. Ironically enough, Mike Surdich, who coaches up there, is a huge fisherman, so we hit that off right away, and that was one of the big reasons why I went there. I'm glad I did. I mean, I had a great career there. Was inducted in the Hall of Fame here this past winter, and it's pretty awesome. You just think back on all that and where you could have ended up and how it could have changed everything. You just don't know.
Yeah, yeah. But you got to go with your gut.
You do. Yeah, absolutely.
You have to do what you think is right for you.
You totally do. And I always wanted to play in Minnesota. It was close to a lot of my family. My dad's from the Coleraine area up near Grand Rapids, and that's only an hour away, so every night when I got done playing a game in Duluth, I'd have 25, 30 people standing in the lobby waiting for me, which was pretty cool.
I bet you had food.
And lots of food. Grandma would always pack a huge box of food. I had a traveling duffel bag where I could stuff all my dirty clothes in, and she would take those and then hand me the clean ones back, so I was never without clothes. It was a great setup.
All your teammates are probably like, Peluso, you suck.
Oh, they did. Other than the couple kids that were from the Duluth area, I was pretty spoiled.
So if you had to do anything over again, would you change anything?
No, I don't. The only thing I may do or may have done differently, and I had an opportunity during that NHL lockout year. I was offered to go play overseas, and it was really big money at that time. And if it was today and I was offered that, I would go in a heartbeat, and simply because of all the technology we have, FaceTimes, Facebook, our social media, you can stay connected with anything that's going on at home. And I am kind of a homebody type person. I like to know what's going on. And back then we didn't really have that stuff. And I was like, boy, if I'm gone for a year, away from there and just unconnected, I'd struggle with that. And that was one of the reasons why I didn't go. And should I have gone? Yeah, probably. But, again, I don't have any regrets.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, how did you get so big into fishing? Like, how did that all? Because you're not just like I cast a line every now and then. You're like a PWT fisherman.
Yeah, no, that is kind of an interesting deal. When my dad decided he was going to move to Bismarck, North Dakota, he looked at the map and saw there was a river that ran through town. And literally, that's what he said. He goes, I saw there was a river. I figured there must be some outdoor activities to do there. Yeah. So he came here. He's the one that kind of got me going. He had a boat, and back in those days, and I'm going to be excited to talk about some of this stuff, but throughout the course of this program, but nobody used the river. The river was a foreign place. It was a spooky, scary, pretty wild, untamed place. True. There was hardly any boat ramps at that time. There was the Fox Island boat ramp was about the only one. And I'll tell you what, we'd go out there, and I can remember this from my earliest days in my childhood, probably 4 or 5 years old. I vividly remember being out there and not seeing another human being. Like, you just wouldn't see anybody.
It was desolate.
It was. There was no houses. The only house that was on the river at that time was south of Fox Island, and we call it the A-frame, and the poor thing didn't do so well in the flood. Yeah. But that was the only one on the river at that time. And that river looks so familiar to me at that time. I can rewind my brain to that time, and I can see it clear as day right now. And it was really amazing, to think that we kind of were Lewis and Clark, so to speak, on our own out there. There wasn't much happening, and certainly we had some unbelievable fishing, and Dad basically fished every single day. So for me, it just turned into something I was obsessed with. I mean, if I saw And I lived right across the street from my grade school, which is kind of a problem because if I saw the boat leave that driveway when I was at school, my poor mom could set her watch to the fact that I was definitely going to get in trouble at school that day, and she'd be coming to school. So, Dad learned in a quick hurry that it's not even worth trying to go fishing unless he can go. So what he started to do is just pick me up immediately after school.
Yeah.
And then as I got older, into my driving years, I just pulled the boat to school. So as soon as school was done, I'd be out fishing every single day. And that's kind of how it started. And then Scott and Marty Glorvigan, they're from Grand Rapids, Minnesota, and they were kind of my childhood idol guys because they're big into the fishing world, and they're great family friends and this and that. Well, I used to always, every time I was up in the Coleraine, Duluth area, I'd go see these guys and pick their brains, and pretty soon they started sponsoring me to fish some tournaments with them, and next thing I know, I was full bore into it, and, haven't looked back since.
That's crazy. Did you ever discover girls, Peluso?
Like
I hear a lot of fishing and hockey. It seems like I don't think you ever discovered girls.
It was.
Thank God. It's good for your career.
It was later in my life. Yes, it was definitely later in my life. It wasn't. I got picked on in high school an awful lot because yes, I wasn't at the parties. I wasn't. I was out fishing or doing something of that nature. And if it was during the season, I was skating. So yeah, I pretty much was one or the other, and very focused, very dedicated. And it's funny how, that kind of formed me as a person, and that's who I am today. It hasn't changed. Yeah, I don't, obviously do it like I used to, but I'm still, yeah.
If it makes you feel better. I didn't go to any of the parties either, but it's just because I wasn't invited. I was kind of a geek, Peluso.
Well, that's okay. That's all right. It's all right.
I was the only demonette that was a geek in the history of all the demonettes.
That's interesting.
Pretty sure. Set a precedent for that.
Oh, yeah. No, it's interesting how it all went through my high school years, that's for sure.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the show and what he's going to have coming up, what we can expect, and thank some of our sponsors as well. So we'll be back. You're listening to Peluso Outdoors?
Mike Peluso Outdoors.
Mike Peluso Outdoors on urlradio.net.